Hello, this is Malorian, and this is going to be another Warcaster review. We're starting to get into some of the ones that I'm not that familiar with, so I'm bringing on some, experts onto here, and this is my brother Borgnine, also known as Senior Card Cage, also known as Camerat Ranch.
All kinds of shit.
All sort of names, depends what forum you're not kicked off of yet. And so we're going to be talking about one of the casters that he does really well with, and this is from Menoth, and this is Kreoss. Kreoss is one of the starter box casters, and he's also very competitive as well, so it's someone you really want to know. So do you want to run through what he's basically got for stats and rules?
Okay, so very importantly, he's Focus 7, Speed, less importantly, Speed 5, Strength 6, Mat 7, Rat 4, Def 14, Armor 15, and he's got a Reach weapon, which is People stats 14, which is magical. Those are his base stats. He's got 18 boxes.
It's not bad.
Which actually is pretty good. Considering he's got really crappy base stats, 14, 15, that's kind of nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
On the back of his card, he's got Chain Weapon on his weapon.
Does that ever come up in game?
Not for me, no. Typically, the only time I've got him in combat is when he's charging my own guy, so that I can get further up the field to apply the feet farther. Mm-hmm. And then his weapon also has Dispel, but again, it's not going to come up. So he's got a number of spells here. He's got a 3-inch AoE that costs 3 and is POW 14. It causes fire damage, and on critical hit, they suffer fire continuous. Mm-hmm. He's got one of his best spells here is Defender's Ward, which is just a 2-cost spell, range 6, upkeep, where the target friendly faction model unit gains +2 defense and armor. Immolation is just another shitty nuke, but it's only cost 2, POW 12, and again, critical hit causes fire. Then a controversial spell that a lot of people think is not very good and just makes your opponent play better, but it's Lamentation, which is an upkeep on himself, and enemy models pay double their focus or fury point cost to cast or upkeep spells within the control area. And then again, another really good spell, Purification, which you should know. Last thing to talk about here on his card, anyway, is his feat, which is called Menoth's Wrath, and it's wall of text. It says, enemy models currently in Kreoss's control area are knocked down.
Pretty simple.
Yes.
So in general, what do you find, what units are good to run with Kreoss?
Pretty much anything with a gun.
Yeah.
is good.
Knock her down, shoot him up.
Yeah, like, so if you're familiar with the game at all, you've probably been popped and dropped. Which is referring to he uses his feet, everyone gets knocked down, and then you don't need line of sight to anything anymore because nothing's blocking line of sight unless you're steady or whatever. And then yeah, you have free range to basically shoot whatever you want. So a lot of times I take errants because their base stats of 12, 16 go to 14, 18 with Defender's Ward. They've all got bows, so they can.
Well, they do the same thing to me too, where they charge in, kill something with their sword, quick work, shoot something else.
Well, that's a great thing too. Yeah, is they have quick work, and because if everything's knocked down, they're not going to be engaged, so they'll always get that quick work.
Yeah,
so they can get a lot of attacks out there. For Jack's side of things, you're always gonna. Well, I always take 2 Reckoners because Reckoners just shoot stuff like crazy. Very good. They have incredible threat range with their assault special rule. They can move 8 inches and then fire 12. It's pretty awesome. I also like Zealots with him because typically Zealots have troubles hitting, but if they're knocked down, they're going to be very easy to hit, and especially like a Warcaster. When they do their little prayers for the +2/+2, they're hitting POW 14s, and that can kill casters right there. You don't even necessarily need your jacks.
So is there like any tricks and tips of like things you've done to make him work better?
He's pretty straightforward. So, I mean, one of the things that I've been doing more recently is I've been taking Tristan, and I put a Redeemer on Tristan because Tristan's got a spell called Fortification, which means that Jack, his Redeemer he's running, and anything in base to base cannot be knocked down. And so as I was alluding to earlier, is Kreoss has really crappy defensive stats at 14-15, so although he can be extremely offensive and he wants to get up there to knock things down and kill them, if the opponent can see him back, he's in big trouble. So what I like to do is I'll put Fortification on the Redeemer and then put the 2 Reckoners beside and just create this wall that Kreoss can hide behind.
And like you're saying, you like to charge up to get that feat to do the pop and drop. If you have the jacks in front, what's the order of activations to get him out there to drop first? Do you usually have to sacrifice one of the jacks in order to get that done?
Yeah, well, I mean, if depending on how far back, you can charge at an angle. But also the thing is, though, too, is when you're doing that jack wall thing, you don't necessarily have to go from as far away.
Oh, okay.
I find because he can be a lot closer, so he doesn't have to charge as much. But yeah, I mean, you can sacrifice one of your jacks, depending on the caster you're going against. It's probably actually more likely to be the Reckoner.
I guess it was a vassals you can always take a shot with after anyway. So if a Reckoner has to move, shoot something, you can always shoot after the feat thanks to the vassals.
Yeah. Or maybe you could take another, like a Crusader or something, and like throw Kreoss off to the side.
That sounds like something I do. But
Yeah, no.
Do you ever see, like, so normally, like, that's the base level is the pop and drop. Is there any kind of, like, deeper tactics that you found after a while? Like, oh, this is actually a good sneaky thing to do as well? Or is he usually just that straightforward, put up Lamentation, keep things back, purify off things, and then just pop and drop when needed? Or have you found like there's been something else he can do?
I almost never use Lamentation.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't, like, it just doesn't seem to come into effect too often. But yeah, Purification's absolutely huge. But I mean, that's all pretty straightforward stuff.
How about his tiers? Is tier worth... You said that you've never even really looked at it.
Yeah,
so.
just before the cast here, I had to look at the tier, and I would never look at it. I don't like it. It doesn't really play into his pop and drop thing. I mean, so one other thing is you can use the pop and drop to just assassinate, or another really good thing if your opponent doesn't have a lot of shooting is just using it as a pseudo time walk, where you move up, you don't engage your opponent, you knock it all down, and then they're going to have to either forfeit their movement or their action, typically, unless they have a special rule, and then they're not going to be able to make attacks or anything, so you get an extra turn of hammering away on them. So that can be a good way to get an attrition advantage.
So now with Colossals and things like that, which can't be knocked down, have you found that he's really not as good as he used to do for you, or you just have to kind of pick your matchups?
It's definitely going to be worse, but I like to take Terran, De La Rovisi. So she's got her shot so that if she just hits the enemy, well, any model, sorry, it doesn't have to be enemy, it no longer blocks line of sight. So
shoot right through.
Against uncanny opponents, you can shoot their Colossal and then they thought they were safe and now they're dead. Or even against more canny opponents, if you can keep her protected, big Colossal doesn't really make that big of a difference. I haven't, I've added her in, and with her being available, I haven't found that it's too much of a difference, just because, she can be pretty far back, advance, and shoot.
Well, for the most part, I guess he's pretty much just an assassination caster is how he plays.
Unless you're doing the attrition thing, because if you want to take like Rupert in the book, you can really make it into an attrition grindy thing. But I mean, especially when you've got your feet on the board, when you haven't used it yet, is what I mean. Your opponent has to play so defensively that it's really nice. You can really dictate the game, and their casts are just like, because at any point, unless they've got some crazy special rule to save them, they can just be dead just like that. Yeah. So
I know playing Kane 2 against you, I was on pins and needles because I can't even do heightened reflexes because you'll just purify it off and knock me down anyway. So really, really deadly.
Yeah, a lot of the things like Occultation or Shadow Pact that could potentially save you in other matchups, you'll just purify it off and not give a shit.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Things with innate stealth can be tricky. If you want to find the points for that, you can take Ropin to get around that, and then at least my model will be able to see.
But do you find that you normally has to get into your list, or you usually have another list instead?
I actually don't really use Ropin.
Oh, okay.
I know basically every top player does, but I haven't been penalized by it too much. I haven't been burned by not taking them enough, so I don't typically take them. 4 points is pretty steep, and I'm cheap as shit.
So we did say that he was a starter box caster. Do you think he is? Clearly, he's a competitive caster as well. But do you feel that he's a good one for people to learn on? As like a first caster?
I don't see why not. I mean, he's straightforward, and he can get rid of a lot of the opponent's bullshit by using his purification and yeah, like I mean, his feat is so easy to apply. His Defender's Ward on stuff is very easy to do. Turns things into very strong defensive pieces. So
my puppy's just crying.
I think he's perfectly fine to start with.
Yeah, I mean his stats are a little bit, on the low side, but I mean that's better because it lets you learn to not put your casters out there.
The thing is, though, too, is that's practically all of Menoth.
Yeah.
Like, so many of the Menoth casters have those shitty stats, so it's something that you're gonna have a hard time avoiding in Menoth, so you might as well start
learn there. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
No
and
worries.
That's Kreoss, and we'll catch you guys later for the next Warcaster review. Bye.